You just paid your electric bill without reading it because the number looked about right, and you had 3 minutes before your next Zoom meeting. Ever wonder why that bill has more line items than a CVS receipt for a pack of gum? Today I'll break down what all those mysterious charges on your electric bill actually mean in plain English. By the end, you'll understand which fees are real infrastructure costs. You'll also see which ones are clever accounting tricks designed to raise your rates without technically raising your rates. Pull up your last electric bill right now and find the actual PDF with all the details. Not the email summary, the actual PDF your utility company hopes you're too busy to read. Scroll past that big, scary number at the top and keep going. See all those line items stacked up like a grocery list written by someone who's never actually cooked a meal? Transmission service charge, distribution adjustment, and fuel cost recovery. Capacity charge, renewable energy rider, and system benefit charge. Plus a customer service fee thrown in for good measure. Most people see this wall of utility jargon, feel that familiar mix of confusion and low-grade anger, and just pay it. You figure the power company knows what they're doing, and questioning it sounds like a phone call you don't have time for. That's exactly what they're counting on. Here's the thing about these fees. Some are completely legitimate costs of getting electricity from a power plant to your house without everything catching fire or exploding. But some are basically corporate padding with official-sounding names. You'd notice if a restaurant charged you separately for the plate, the fork, and the napkin. You'd definitely notice a food ingredient market volatility adjustment fee. You'd still pay it because you're hungry, but you'd feel like something sketchy was happening. Your electric bill works the same way, except you can't eat at a different restaurant. Let's break down a real bill line by line. First up, the legitimate stuff you should expect. Your supply charge or generation charge is the actual electricity you used. Kilowatt hours times a rate. This is the only part truly based on how much power you consumed. Then you've got transmission charges, which pay for those massive high-voltage power lines that move electricity from power plants across states and regions. Those lines cost billions to build and maintain, and someone has to pay for that infrastructure. Distribution charges cover the local poles, wires, and transformers in your neighborhood that deliver power to your specific house. Real equipment, real maintenance costs, real workers who fix things when storms knock everything down. Annoying to see it itemized separately, but these are actual things that exist in the physical world. Now here's where the magic happens with the sketchy stuff. Fuel adjustment charges sound perfectly reasonable until you realize they fluctuate every single month based on what the utility says fuel costs were. Not what fuel actually cost, what they say it cost, with minimal oversight and maximum flexibility. They can blame literally anything you can imagine. Weather patterns, global oil markets, a pipeline hiccup 3 states away, that time someone sneezed near a natural gas facility in Texas. There's a formula buried somewhere in a 200-page regulatory filing, but good luck finding it or understanding it without a law degree. This charge is basically a built-in excuse to add 10 to 15% to your bill every month without calling it a rate increase. Rate increases require public hearings where angry people show up with poster board. Then you've got regulatory compliance fees or environmental charges, which sound responsible and green and vaguely civic-minded. What they actually mean is, we had to follow the law, so now you pay extra for it. Your landlord doesn't send you a separate monthly charge labeled Building Code Compliance Fee because they had to install fire extinguishers. That's the bare minimum cost of doing business without killing people. But utilities figured out they could itemize it, call it something official sounding, and most customers would just nod along. The word regulatory sounds important enough that people assume it must be legitimate. And then there are the straight-up padding charges. Customer service fees mean you're paying them to send you a bill and maintain a phone line you can call to complain about the bill. You're funding your own ability to contact them about the money they're charging you. Smart meter charges are even better. You're paying for equipment they installed, that they own, which benefits them by reducing meter readers they have to employ. They get the efficiency gains, and you get the bill. Some bills also include mysterious items like capacity charges, which supposedly pay for ensuring there's enough power generation available during peak times. Sounds reasonable, except you're already paying for the actual electricity you use during those peak times, often at higher rates. So this is essentially paying for the option to have power available, on top of paying for the power itself. You're being charged twice for the same service from slightly different angles. The truth most utilities won't advertise. About 40 to 60% of your total bill is fees, not actual electricity. Some of those fees are unavoidable infrastructure costs that have to get paid somehow. Poles don't install themselves, but utilities have figured out something brilliant. People don't protest a new system benefit charge or grid modernization rider the same way they'd protest a straightforward 15% rate hike, even when it's mathematically the exact same thing. The line items create confusion, and confusion creates compliance. You can't get mad about something you don't understand, and you definitely can't organize your neighbors to show up at a town hall demanding answers about 12 different microcharges that each sound technically plausible. This matters because these bills aren't static. They're testing grounds. Every year, utilities propose new riders, new adjustments, new recovery mechanisms. They float these proposals past state public utility commissions, often during summer when nobody's paying attention because they're on vacation. Some get approved, some get rejected, but the ones that get approved stick around forever, compounding on each other like interest on a credit card you forgot you had. That 50-cent charge this year becomes 75 cents next year, then $1.20 the year after. Multiply that across millions of customers, and you're talking about tens of millions in extra revenue that didn't require building a single new power plant or hiring a single new worker. But you're not completely powerless here, even though it feels that way. First move, call your utility company and ask them to explain every single charge on your bill. Not just the big ones, every single one. Make them walk you through it. You won't get most fees removed because they're embedded in the rate structure approved by regulators. But asking forces transparency. It creates a record. It signals that someone's actually reading these things. If enough people start asking questions, utilities get nervous. They start having to write FAQ pages and train customer service reps with actual answers, instead of scripts that just apologize for confusion. Second move. Check if your state has a public utility commission website with consumer resources. Most do, and they're usually better than you'd expect. These sites often have guides breaking down which fees are regulated and capped versus which ones have automatic escalators that go up every year without additional approval. You can see the actual rate cases where utilities requested increases. You can sometimes even submit comments during open proceedings, though whether anyone reads them is another question. Knowledge is power. Even if that power is mostly just the power to be specifically angry instead of vaguely frustrated. Third move. If you see a fuel adjustment charge that suddenly doubled from last month, start asking very specific questions about why. What changed? Which fuel? Which plants? Are you buying power on the spot market at premium prices because your own generation failed? These questions probably won't change your individual bill, but patterns matter. If a utility is consistently claiming massive fuel cost spikes while their parent company reports record profits, that's a story. Local news loves stories like that. State legislators running for re-election love looking like they're fighting utility companies. Sometimes, shame is a more effective regulator than actual regulators. To recap, your electric bill has somewhere between 8 and 15 separate line items. Supply charges are your actual electricity. That's legit. Transmission and distribution charges pay for real infrastructure, poles, wires, transformers that physically exist. Fuel adjustment charges fluctuate monthly based on mostly unverified claims about fuel costs, letting utilities raise prices without formal rate cases. Regulatory and environmental fees charge you extra for the utility following basic laws. Customer service fees charge you for the privilege of being a customer. And capacity charges make you pay for the option to have electricity available before you pay for actually using that electricity. Roughly half your bill is these add-on fees, some justified and some just creative accounting with official-sounding names. The confusion is the point. It's harder to protest 12 small charges than one big increase. So here's the real question. When did we all agree that paying mystery fees with bureaucratic names was just a normal part of modern life? And what would it take for us to actually demand bills that make sense?